Now I've been watching the video back and there's a confusing bit coming up, so I'm going to stick this in advance now. That there's two journeys to the King and Queen. I'll get the card. This is the final coloured in card. And there's two journeys to the King and Queen. And the one that I'm talking about initially is the second journey, which is you've already given up all your material possessions and you've been baptized into the church, God's church. You're part of the elect of God. And there's a King and Queen initiation involving sleeping on the grave of King Arthur. Okay. But you've got to do the King and Queen thing in the material part of your life before you ever get there, and you don't really know you're even doing that. It's just like you just are a king and queen. You get married to some lady and you end up in your own business with your own house, and you've got the car and the boat and all the stuff that's here. You end up doing that on the material phase of the journey, and then you're not wearing the king's hat, king and queen's hat. Your lady doesn't even wear a hat, and you have the hat of the gentleman, the gentleman's cap. And if you look, you see people like Nigel Farage. He's on the King and Queen material journey, and he wears a gentleman's cap. That's what he wears, and that's what I was wearing back then. And so, and you don't go to Glastonbury or anything like that to take that material journey. What we're talking about mainly in this video is the spiritual journey that you go on after you give up everything and leave the world here. And okay, I'll let the video carry on. Going down by Avalon, Avalon of the heart. Going down by Avalon, gonna make a brand new start. Oh, came upon the enchanted vale and the viaducts of my dreams. Down by Avalon hangs the tale and the enchanted vale. And the Holy Grail. In the Enchanted Vale, the Holy Grail. Well, the Holy Grail, that is the King and the Queen. Yeah, King and the Queen. And the High Priest and the Priestess, High Priestess, which card we are doing at the moment. This one here, the King and the Queen. I suppose we ought to colour it in a little bit. Let's do that now. Okay, so we've got the King, and let's do the Queen. Okay, oh, that's good for gold, this colour. We'll do the Queen. And a little bit of gold. You can keep colouring this stuff in and it just gets better all the time. The King and the Queen. A couple, a divine couple. A divine couple. And you've got to... Oh, I forgot. I'm recording on this thing here. I hope it's alright. Because we're singing at a higher level at the moment. Because it goes down by Avalon, Avalon of the heart. You can only get it there. Down by Avalon, we'll make a brand new start. Now, when you get to Avalon, what you got to do, if you're a man, I don't know what you do. The ladies, different for the ladies, but this is a man's journey I've been on. So when you get to Avalon, you have to sleep on King Arthur's grave. The grave of King Arthur is inside the abbey grounds. I had to climb over the wall to get in there and sleep the night on the grave of King Arthur. Yeah. So that's how you get your king initiation. The Queen is a whole nother story. I can't say anything about it really. You have a lady and you both seem to go through it together somehow, but you're not together. Some of you might be together, some of you might not. Depends on the situation that you're both in. I have seen kings and queens attempting to do this together as couples, yet they were fighting like you've never seen, like cat and dog. You've never seen anything like it. I've seen a king and a queen at Glastonbury doing all sorts of difficult stuff that I wouldn't really want to do on the streets of Glastonbury. I've seen people do it. Because you're probably not supposed to be there together. She's supposed to be at home in the tower and you're supposed to be doing it. The temptation is just to go wherever you go together, yeah. I was there on my own. And if you want to sleep the night on King Arthur's grave, it's going to help if you've not got your lady with you to worry about. And all the other crazy stuff that you're going to have to do. Defeating the dragons to get through your initiation, all the dark dragons of Glastonbury, to deal with that lot. You don't want to know. And so a king and a queen, it's a level, and when you become a king and a queen, you end up having to have objects of rank. I'm speaking through the microphone because that's an object of rank, yeah. Guitars, I'm looking at that, object of rank. Cameras, objects of rank, yeah. Cars, especially cars, the chariot. King and the queen, they have to have their own chariot. Eventually they don't get the boat straight away. That's the waka card. I deal with that on the waka card. The waka is a Maori word for a couple canoe, yeah. A waka can also be a group canoe too. Often is. So the king and queen, and they need to have special stuff, special clothes to wear after they've been through their initiation, on their way up to it. And they also need their own land and their own castle on their land and all that stuff. They're like knights. They start off knights and ladies in waiting, and they become king and queen by the time they finish. And every king and queen, we're not talking about the King Arthurs. We're talking about the king and queen of their own place, and then they are high level king and queens, higher level, yeah. And they can swear fealty to those, the king and queen of the empire, yeah. Of the empire of all the different kings and queens who have their little houses. In nature, it's like this. We don't seem to have this anymore, but there are kings and queens running around out there. They have their own business. They have everything, they own everything. And even if you don't have any land and stuff like that, it's given to you. Even if you've got no money, it's given to you. I've got land in Africa that the African people gave to me for my university when I became, I was beyond this, beyond the king and queen. I'm like the high priest and the high priestess. The Grail master, yeah, the Grail master. So it's another thing, yeah, to teach the journey to the Holy Grail. That's the Grail master, yeah. And so there are various levels of this thing, but you all have to do it. You all have to go through all these levels. And a king and a queen can stay there. Normally you're a king and a queen. If you're in the material world, you're a king and queen. And it's only when you give everything away, get rid of all your riches, that you move up into the elect, the elect of God, and the 144,000, you become a priest and a male and female, and then your high priest, male and female, an abbot, and then the higher levels after that. Grail couple, Grail master, guild master, stuff like that. And so there are many levels to it, and we all have to walk through the steps on the great chain of being, up through all these steps. Can be all of them, for a time, all of them. That's enough now. Now I want to show you this strange arrangement, because I had my amplifiers in the corner, across the corner, and now I've got this other strange arrangement where I've got two here, one on top of the other, a couple set up here, and now I've got this new object, which is the same amplifier I had when I was a king and queen, on the king and queen journey. I had my own house and my own land, and I was playing music for God. And now the speaker is on top of it, the big speaker's on top of it. And so this big speaker seems to be associated with this amplifier here. And this is something else. So I'm going to shut off now. I'm going to go and talk about it. Now it's very interesting how the journey to king and queen, the material journey, the material phase, is kind of similar to the journey to the Holy Grail, which is the highest level, the higher levels. And I only slept on the grave of King Arthur to take those higher levels of after I left the world and gave everything I had away and left the material journey, baptized, took baptism into the church, became one of the elect of God with 144,000. That's what Constantine the Great did on his deathbed. He didn't take that baptism, he didn't enter into the 144,000 into the elect until just before he was dying, when he was dying. Because when you do that, you have to give everything away, and you can no longer be a king and a queen anymore. You know, like Donald Trump and Melania, that's the king and the queen of the emperor. He's the equivalent of Constantine the Great, yeah. And he'll be known as Donald Trump, Donald the Great. Donald the Great is what he will be known as in history, because he's creating a whole new golden age, the same as Constantine the Great did back then, yeah. But he hasn't left his material journey yet. He hasn't left that. And so there's a long way you can go as a king and queen without giving up your wealth. Yet you must give your wealth up in the end. You must give everything up, all your land, your possessions. You have to give it all up. All your camera collection and your guitars and your amplifiers and all that stuff. You've got to leave it all behind. Yeah. Start from nothing again. Just one guitar, you take just one guitar. Yeah. And so the funny thing is you take the second part of the journey, which is back to God, yeah. to the high priest and the high priestess and beyond, and the Grail Master and all that. You've got to do the whole thing over again, yeah? The whole journey, and the objects you get are very interesting. Now, when I got this object, the second amplifier, there's an amplifier, the one on top of the other, that's my personal setup. And that's got two components. It's got a treble and a bass component, yeah. One guitar plugged in plays both amplifiers simultaneously. And that's like the couple object, yeah. I've got one in Germany, set like that in Germany, and I've got one here. But the other one, I thought I was getting the same, it's the same amplifier that I had when I did this in the Material World in the 1990s, yeah. On the King Queen journey, yeah. When you become a King Queen, then you take the group journey, and that's what the amplifier was to go on the group journey, yeah. Now, at that time, that amplifier represented the group. Okay, my journey into the group with me and my lady. And now it doesn't represent that. It represents the high level group that's formed in the world now with Donald Trump and J.D. Vance and all these other people, RFK Jr., many others, part of this group, yeah. And so that's what that represents. It doesn't represent me as a couple, our couple. It represents a group, that world servers, that group of world servers who is changing the world, who will ultimately form part of the 144,000 going up this time. Most of them have not taken their journey into the church where they've given up their wealth. They still have the wealth. They're still in the material world, yeah. I walked out of that material world to form the new church 20 years ago, yeah. And I've been walking this way as a high priest of the universal church of God for the best part of 20 years. And so I've gone through all the steps, but the interesting thing is it's two journeys. The material phase, till you give up all your wealth, and then the back to God phase, yeah. It's kind of like an archway, goes up, give everything away, down, birth, death, like that, yeah. Now, the next card staring me in the face here, the confirmation, anointment, because what you have to have is you have to take back to get into the second phase of the journey back to God. You give everything away. You've got to end up taking baptism and anointment. One is with water, the other is with oil, and there's a delay between it. And every time you go through one of these major steps, you've got to take baptism and anointment, and you gather many names. And there's an old saying that says, God has many names, and the devil has none. And so when you can't remember somebody's name, like that movie The Witches of Eastwick, it's because they're the devil himself. Now you'll see I've got all these camera collection, a great camera collection now. But I've only had this for the last year or two when I had to do videos about the history of photography. And so I'm repeating what I did. I had a collection, a smaller camera collection, when I was in my material phase as a king and queen. And I had a Leica then. A Leica is similar to this one. This is a German version, the East German version. The Leica is a West German version. And so you're going from the West to the East. There's a little mystery about that, yeah. And And so I never thought I'd have a camera collection ever again, but here I have, I've got one. Yeah. And so you become, in your material phase, you become a custodian, like a historian, and you become an even greater historian later on in the second phase of the journey, even after you've given everything away, even when you've got no home, you've got nothing. But years later, somehow it's all given back to you. So you get the same objects again. But this time, you don't seek them out yourself. They just come to you on the great way. Yeah. Somehow you're given the ability to acquire all this stuff that you had before. See, I used to have keyboards. Now I've got a keyboard that I never play it, but I've got it. If I need to, I'm keeping the history of it. And if I need to make a record with a keyboard on it, then I can do it. Yeah. And so, but all these things I had before in my life, I had hi-fi sets and speakers, but these are, I've got greater ones now. I've got more of them, greater ones now. I had a drum kit. Had a drum kit when I was king and queen, and now I've got an electronic drum kit. I had digital cameras. This is the same digital camera that I had when I was a king and queen, just at the end of the king and queen journey. And this is the first digital camera that I have now in this collection. I had a video collection of videos. I have a video collection now. Now it's DVDs, yeah, and some Blu-rays. I had a library of books, and now I have a library of spiritual books, yet they're on my computer. Yeah, they're all PDF files on my computer mostly, and just one or two actual books. I have an album. I had an album of photographs of my family. It's amazing because I'm just going through this for the very first time in my brain because it's all true. And now I have a small album of photographs of Elizabeth and I. Yeah. I had photographic books of masters of photography, and I have one or two now, not many, one or two. Still got one or two of those. I had a photographic lamp on a stand which I used as a light in my room. It was like a spotlight, one of those old metal photographic spotlights, probably for video making. And now I have the light that we've got shining in the room, which is also a photographic light, but it's a better one, the one that actually works properly and does its job. There are parallels everywhere, yeah? Everywhere there are parallels. I put photos in frames, pictures, special pictures in frames. Now I have special pictures in frames here. They're all spiritual pictures now. They were my own work. They were my own works. I framed my own artwork and other artists' work hanging on the wall. Now I have spiritual pictures, and I don't bother printing my own pictures and hanging them on the wall anymore. That's what I did in my material phase. Yeah. I'll go right to the top here. I get my biggest thing out. I get the highest thing out in the house. The highest thing in the house. Okay. Oh, I don't know why it's up there. It's funny. I saw the picture when I got it. This is the biggest lens that I have. Okay. And it's a German lens. And I kind of got this. This is the biggest object I got in my camera collection. Biggest, heaviest object in my camera collection. And I was surprised when it didn't actually take a particularly good picture. I've got better lenses of the equivalent focal length. But this is the biggest piece of glass in the house. And that actually goes up there. Because that kind of represents my lady to a certain extent, that big glass object. The light. That's enough now. I'm making bread at the moment. I never had a bread maker in my material phase. Almost, but not quite. And so I've gone beyond where I got on the material journey by having a bread maker in the kitchen. Maybe they didn't have them back then. I'm sure they did. In the 1990s, did they have bread makers? The year 2000? Probably just started then, yeah? Now, the card underneath this is Adam, Eye of Light. And that is, for me, the highest anointment that I have. I'm anointed as Adam, Eye of Light. I had to be baptized as Adam, Eye of Light. I had to be anointed as Adam, Eye of Light. And that's my biggest name that I ever took. You also can take that name. That name is the name of the angel that's going out at this time. The angel is not a single person, it's the 144,000 that all go out together. And so that is the name of that angel. And I, as I was travelling away, I gave that word to many people. If I felt like it, I said, I want to give you a special word, I say, and I whisper in their ear, Adam, Eye of Light. And I give that to you now. And these are the cards of Adam, Eye of Light. And soon it is the time, it must be the time of Adam, Eye of Light, as Donald Trump announced the golden age had begun. Because up until now, a golden age was coming, but now it's here. Okay. I'm going to play that song. If you're on your material phase, you don't need to go to Glastonbury. But if you've gone beyond the material world and you've given everything away, and you're just somehow supported in the world, maybe you're supported by YouTube or something, then you do have to go to Glastonbury, which is the Isle of Avalon. Down by Avalon, Avalon of the heart. Going down by Avalon, gonna make a brand new start. And I came upon that enchanted vale, where the lilacs in my dream. Down by Avalon hangs a tale, enchanted vale, enchanted vale. Oh, the Avalon sunset, trying time for all. Oh, the Avalon sunset, we had a ball. 'Cause I came upon that enchanted vale, by the violence of my dream. Down by Avalon hangs a tale, and the Holy Grail, the Holy Grail. And don't forget the grave of King Arthur too, and the White Spring, and Bridie's Mound. The Bridie's Mound, you have to sleep on that at some point. And the Church of St. John. Thanks for watching. noticed when that video played back in the middle of that Holy Grail stuff, the beeping, you can hear some ringing in the background, and that's the buzzer going off to say that the bread is done. And this is the second time I've used this bread maker. The first time the loaf came out leavened. But this is unleavened bread, alright? So this is special holy bread made for you lot. This is the unleavened bread. It's for a sign. It's for a sign from this lady over here. And it's got big holes in it, and it's very, very nice bread. It's surprising how nice this bread is. It's very nice indeed. It wasn't made as I envisaged it might be. Normally it's round and risen up. But it's an unleavened bread because you don't want to be inflated and blown up on your journey. You have to be humble, humble. And that's the symbolism of the unleavened bread. You need to be a person who eats unleavened bread. You need to be a humble person, that's what it means. Humility will get you there in the end. But it doesn't mean, I said but, that's not a good word, but. So, what are we going to do now? What are we going to do now? We've got these two cards. I'm putting those back in the pack. We're not going to colour them in. We're finished with them. Those three cards will be on this particular reading. Not that one. Okay. We're zooming in. Dog's barking. And what that means. Okay. We're going to pick a card. We do it by deleting what is not our card. Not these ones, not these ones, not these ones. And this is our next video. So if you subscribe to the channel, you'll get notified in your feed when we're doing this card. The criminal. What do we do about the criminal? Yeah. Unleavened bread. Unleavened bread is the only way out for the criminal. Okay. That's why the dog was barking, because I was probably not supposed to be zoomed in. But we're going to do both. We're going to do the criminal on our next video. Thanks for watching. And I also noticed, this is why the dog was barking, I shouldn't have been zoomed in. I also noticed that the criminal is the opposite of the king and queen. You can't get more opposite than that. So that's very, very interesting that we're going to be covering this next time.